it is. Never ask me about it later when it hurts. Who's Kyle again?
All right, everyone, this is Tim with Online Big Blue, bringing you the best of New York Giants sports talk entertainment. Oh, we're doing an early morning video. Why? Jury duty day. So, as you are watching this, I am probably sitting in the thrones of jury duty. I just wanted to play that one clip for the ride or die homies here at Online Big Blue, because there are so many of them. And I just love it. And like I said, those are the people I'm going to miss the most when I'm out of here. February 17th is the last episode. And like I said, it's just, there's such a great crew of guys and gals that are out there that support the channel, that really do get football and understand what this is all about. And you know what? This bud's for you. Got to talk about the Giants. Got to talk about all the injuries that piled up. And you know what, boys and girls? Injuries are a part of sports. They happen. The Giants have just been lucky that they haven't really run into the injury machine, even though everyone thinks the turf monster is still lurking out there. And now the Giants are changing their we're not even going to get into what they're changing the turf into. But you know what? Some of these injuries can be avoided. Having a Dory Jackson return punts is probably one of the dumbest decisions that my Madden crush Brian Dable has done. And I've said this before. I love Brian Dable. I think he's doing a great job with this Giant organization. But I keep seeing Jason Sehorn. I remember 2 weeks ago when he was returning punts, and I was saying to Irish Rover, who went to the game with me, he just needs to catch the ball and fall down. Fall down immediately. Just fall down. Don't even try to run it back. Don't try to do anything. Don't try to juke. Don't try to jive. Do an anti-Leon Bright, and younger Giant fans need to go look up Leon Bright, and just call for a fair catch on every single play. Jackson went down early in the second quarter, returned it 3 yards to punt, limped off the field. It's believed that it is a medial collateral ligament and an MCL sprain. Usually about 4 to 6 weeks. It's funny with the medial collateral ligament. You do have to be careful with that, and it's just one of those things because it does protect the ACL. So you need, and I know all about injuries. I know all about the knees, from the meniscus to the mid meniscus to the medial collateral ligament to the anterior cruciate ligament to the PCL. But it's just but why? I mean, we can't find someone else on this team besides our starting corner, our number one corner, who is going to be returning punts. You can't figure out someone else on this team that can return a kick. Not a good look for the Giants. That was kind of a mistake. The Wan'Dale Robinson thing, it's just kind of a fluke thing. Dable's a little bit concerned. He says, yeah, it looked like he was in a lot of pain. It was just one of those things that you just don't know about. You know, we don't know what it's going to be. We'll probably get a better idea and understanding. It looked like he happened when he was going out of bounds or when he was out of bounds. Potentially a non-contact injury. May not be turf related. I also think that he was just trying to do a little too much. So you know what? It was like Saquon Barkley in Chicago. Sometimes you try to do a little too much, and at the end, that's when things go horribly wrong. Mr. Fabian. Solid corner. He went down with a rib injury. That's gonna be big going to get up against Dak and the Cowboys, who just dropped 40 on the Vikings. And the Vikings are a good team, and he just dropped 40 on them like they weren't even there. I'm hoping that maybe that they scored 40 points, that they used up all their points for the next 2 weeks. The Cowboys did. Maybe they did. Maybe they used it. Maybe they used it all up. You got Phillips, who was filling in as a starting right tackle for Evan Neal. He went down early in the second quarter with a neck issue. He was, of course, replaced by Matt from Connecticut. He's who's coming off who was just coming off a knee injury as well. Gianna Feliciano was forced out also with a neck injury. He was replaced by Nick Gates. It was nice to see Nick Gates get in the game. Jason Pincock also went out with a jaw injury. I mean, like I said, it was just one of those things that the injury bug happens. We've talked about it a million times this year, and I've talked about it for the years prior. Those that have played the sport or played anything at a high competitive level, sport-wise, you always know it's next man up. You got to get the next man up, and you got to be prepared to go in and do your thing. Shane Lemieux was not prepared. Shane Lemieux looked horrible. And I like Shane Lemieux, and I like him as a player for this team, but maybe not as a player in this team. But he seems like he's a good kid. He was just terrible. He was just bad. Saquon Barkley also had a rough game. He's been so good all season, but it's not difficult to figure out how to stop the Giants. You just stack the box, and you limit Saquon Barkley's effectiveness, and you make Daniel Jones throw. That's it. And to the person that told me that it was a great play by Aiden Hutchinson, great athletic play by Aiden Hutchinson on that Daniel Jones interception. It was a nice play. Yes, it was. But Daniel Jones didn't even see him. He threw it right to him. It's not really that athletic when the ball's thrown directly at you. And Daniel Jones, to his credit, came out at the press conference and said, I didn't see him. That's not a good look. That's not a good look for your quarterback. I didn't see him. Eli went through that. Eli went through that a bunch of times. The offense just sputtered. And like I said, the whole thing crumbled when Saquon basically could not get going. They could not effectively block the front of Detroit. And Detroit is not a very good defense. People are going to look at Daniel Jones' 27 for 44 and go for 341 and say, well, look what a great game he had. Well, he also had 2 drive killers, So, I mean, he had his one good drive of the game. You know what? You can't move the ball between the 20s and then not do it when you get into the red zone. That's the problem Daniel Jones has had his entire career. We've talked about this a million times. A million times. The biggest factor he basically had, even though he threw for 344 yards, was his 7 rushes for 50 yards. Wan'Dale Robinson, like I said, he did have 9 catches up to 100 yards before leaving with that injury as well. It was great to see Kenny G actually catch 2 passes for 29 yards. Lawrence Cager dropped a 2-point conversion in the end zone, but it didn't really matter because it was a garbage touchdown at the end anyways. It was one of those things. And the defense against, I have to give Jared Goff a lot of credit. I said a million times, Jared Goff is he was the only quarterback I would not take over Daniel Jones. And actually, I'd probably take Jared Goff over Daniel Jones this last 2 years now. He did a respectable 17 to 26 for 165. No, he was not sacked, didn't turn the ball over. It's like, it was, what's funny? I see the 17 for 26 for 165, and Daniel Jones lovers will say, well, that was, for what Daniel Jones says, that's a great game. Jared Goff does it and puts up 30-plus points, and it's, well, you know what? Jared Goff is he's not very good. He was only 17 for 26. How does that work in reverse? Can someone explain that to me? Daniel Jones does it, and he's the Messiah. Jared Goff does the exact same win, puts up 31 points and beats the Giants, and he had a bad game. There was the bad roughing the passer penalty also on O'Shane Zimenez. He kind of went up towards the head. So that was another one of those things. And like I said, we just couldn't stop the run. The Lions also converted 6 for 13 on third downs, and we didn't force any turnovers. We just did not play well. It's one of those games that you're going to hit the skids once in a while. That happens. And you know what? Sometimes with any team, I've said this before, and I said this during the live streams. I predicted Giants to lose 35-17. I predicted it was going to be a blowout because I do think that they were and I said in the stream, they're reading a little bit too much into their own hype. And I think a come down to earth game was probably not a bad thing and probably necessary. And you hope that the Dable rallies the troops for Dallas. And because right now with the Dallas win, with the Washington win, with the Eagles win squeaking it out, and the Giants 0-1 of the division, these remaining games are massively important because you have 5. We've talked about it a million times. You have 5 divisional games. So Philadelphia is not going to be an easy out. Washington looks like they're not going to be an easy out now, and you have Dallas at home. So it's just interesting to see what's going to happen. And like I said, I just laugh and I just think about it. When Dable came out, and people blasted me for it because I didn't even say it. Your head coach said it, that if the Giants have to throw the ball 35-plus times, he doesn't think they can win. How many times did we throw the ball? He was very omnipotent in reference to that. You threw the ball 44 times and you weren't able to win because it's just this team is not built that way. This team is not constructed. Daniel Jones is not that type of quarterback. You can say everything you want. Brian Dable also opted to go for it on that 4th and 1 from the Detroit 49-yard line in the first quarter, which was a good thing, and it paid off. He was still being aggressive, and I like the fact that he's still going to be an aggressive coach. But I do think you got to talk to Dable a little bit and just say, hey, listen, you got to question. You got to question using your top corner as your punt returner. You really have to. You do have to go back and question that. And this is one of the few times it's not judging, but this is one of the few times you have to go back and just say that was a head scratcher. I mean, it just didn't make sense. It still doesn't make sense. But you know what? It is what it is. It's over. It's done. We have to wait and see what these injuries look like over the next couple weeks. We got that short week and that short turnaround before we turn around and go over into Dallas and for that. And, it's interesting. It's a rare Thanksgiving game for the Giants. And the Cowboys always seem to play on Thanksgiving, same with the Lions. So it's going to be interesting how they handle this in a short week. It's going to be interesting to see how they go up against a very aggressive and athletic Dallas defense in Dallas. It's going to be an interesting game. And like I said, I hope they can turn it around. I hope they can find a way to put behind them what happened yesterday and look forward to Dallas. And don't use injuries as excuses. And it's funny because I don't see the team doing that. I see the fan base doing that. The fan base always makes injuries, always makes excuses for injuries and such and such. I don't see the team doing it. And like I said, they're going to move forward. They're going to come up with a plan. And Sally Ford, let's get into Dallas and let's get a W. And again, this is Tim with Online Big Blue, bringing the best of New York Giants sports talk entertainment. And as always, if you like, subscribe. If you're ringing that bell, you're going to